Well, welcome everybody to another session of the Water School Africa. And we have a wonderful speaker from Malawi today. And I will hand over to my colleague Walter in a minute to introduce him. But just before that, what I do want to say is that just a little bit about Water School Africa, that our attempt with Water School Africa is to shine the spotlight on many people who are doing the work of holding water in their communities, in their landscapes successfully. They have different methods, they have traditional methods, they have modern methods, and holding water successfully, making their areas water secure, water rich, and sharing that wisdom with each other in their communities and wider afield. So that's the attempt of Water School Africa, and we are delighted to spotlight with Malawi today. I think we've had one speaker from Malawi before, but this is truly a revolutionary and very long-standing program. And I'm handing over to my colleague Walter to introduce today's speaker to us. The session will run for about an hour and a half. We have about 45 minutes of presentation from our speaker, and then we'll open the floor for discussion, for thoughts, for questions, anything that strikes you, and we'll run till about 11 for about an hour and a half. So welcome again, enjoy the session, and over to you, Walter.
Thank you, Minnie, and greetings everyone. Welcome to this session. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today, Daniel Chinkhuntha, whom I met over 15 years ago when his late father, Dr. Chinkhuntha, was still alive. And Daniel is going to share with us the work that he is doing with Tikondwe Freedom Gardens. And Tikondwe Freedom Gardens were established by his late father, Dr. Chinkhuntha, and he did such an amazing work that he got a doctorate in recognition of his water holding work. So he's truly one of the pioneers of rainwater harvesting work in Africa. And Daniel himself is an organic farmer. He's also a permaculture trainer in central Malawi, where Tikondwe Freedom Gardens are based. And fortunately, we'll be able to have a glimpse of these gardens as Daniel presents. So over to you, Daniel. If you would like to introduce yourself further, you can do so before we look at the video that you have prepared for us.
Right. Thank you so much, Walter. Can everyone hear me? Hello? Can
yes,
everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay. Right. As Ward has introduced me, I think Ward has touched much of the introductions about me. Basically, I should say, as a child, I grew up learning farming, and then learning the permaculture way of farming. Just to say in brief is to say, my parents studied the permaculture way of living and farming, basically because they wanted to achieve food sovereignty and also to achieve economic welfare for the family. And it's what we have been raised to do. And then as we have been raised to do, it's also what we have informally and formally kept training the community, the academics, and then the extension staff. Yeah. So yeah, much has been said by Walter. I think from now we can go to the video clip, and then thereafter we can go to the presentation.
Daniel Chinkhuntha from Tikondwe Freedom Gardens in Malawi. Tikondwe Freedom Gardens is a farm and a family venture where we do practice permaculture. You call it sustainable agriculture, agroecology, whatsoever to do with sustainable living. We do train academics, farmers, and learners in permaculture. I'll take you through the practices. that we use on the farm to harvest water. These practices helps us to sustain water for irrigation even after the rainy season, even after the dry season. Now we'll go through several practices like the swales, the sunken plots, the fish ponds, the holding tank, and the trenches. So this is called the holding tank. It's one of the structures that is used for harvesting water. The best thing is underground, but also it's on the upper land of the farm. We usually use this twice for harvesting water. First, we use with the rainy season water. So during the rainy season, water sinks in this. So we are talking of the water that's flowing within the setup of the farm. So the water will come in this, and then as the water fills this up, it helps in recharging the aquifer. Now, after the rainy season, we also tap water from upstream. Only that right now it's dry because we have not yet tapped the water. Then as we tap water from upstream, we direct part of the water into this holding tank. Usually we direct water into this during night hours when we are not working. So that creates to say both during the rainy season and during the dry season, we are still in the process of harvesting water. Now that creates aquifers down the garden, which provides us water for drainage and for irrigation. So this is called a trench. It's also one of the structures that we use for water harvesting. Now a trench will also harvest water in two ways. During the rainy season, water that's flowing on the plots will spill over into the trenches. That means to say the trenches are blocking the runoff from the plots. Now as they block the runoff from the plots, they are sinking the water underground. Trenches are a multi-purpose because we also use them for planting other crops, as you can see, especially for bananas, plantains, and fruits. Now, during the dry season, we also use this for harvesting the water while irrigating with canals, irrigating the crops that are planted in. Now, in such process, that means to say we are also creating, we also create organic matter within the trenches. This is a fish pond. It's also one of the structures that we use for harvesting water. One of the good things is these are just underground, they are earth and underground fish ponds. So this will harvest water during the rainy season. Water fills up. After the rainy season, we keep on refilling these fish ponds with water. However, they have much water from the underground. Now, as we keep on harvesting water from this, when the water dries up in the river system, we are then able to pump this water and use it for irrigation. So these are one of the most basic common structures. Ponds are one of the most basic common structures for water harvesting because they can hold more water for irrigation. This is a sunken plot. I should say our gardens and our plots are designed in sunken structures with the deliberate purpose of harvesting water. Now this means to say during the rainy season, water that's running within the sunken plot are trapped within the sunken plot and then sinks within the sunken plot, and now that recharges the aquifer. We have a river close by. Sometimes it floods. Now the flooding waters are also trapped by each sunken plot, and that creates a series of water harvesting structures within the sunken plot. So water is harvested and then sinks down. So as we have discussed different structures that we use for harvesting water, this is one of the best examples for water harvesting. This is to say, as we keep on harvesting water through different structures that we have on the farm, we create swampy conditions on other parts of the garden, of which some areas we are able to produce rice even after the rainy season, as you can see. So this rice we are producing after the rainy season. So one of the practices that we use for harvesting water are the terraces. So you can see the land is terraced. Inclusive to the terraces are the grasses. Inclusive to the grasses that's on the ground are the hedges that you can see. Inclusive to the hedges are also to the agroforestry trees. So all of these combined reduces raindrop impact, reduces the runoff, and then increases water infiltration that recharges the aquifer. This is called a swale. It's one of the structures for water harvesting. There are so many dimensions and then structures for a swale. A swale is mostly designed especially on uplands and in fields. A swale would trap water during the rainy season in upland. And then as it traps this water, it sinks the water down, and then thereby irrigating much of the trees, much of the agroforestry, and also recharging the aquifer at the same time. So swales are both used during the rainy season and then during the dry season. During the dry season, you may divert water from the streams and then keep on recharging and harvesting the water through the swales.
Yes, thank you so much for the video clip. I should say we'll go through the presentation PowerPoint. After discussing on the presentation PowerPoint, we also discuss some of the ways that we do use. Also that are also adapted with the communities that are not discussed and then that are not written in the PowerPoint. I think the first question should be, why are we talking about harvesting water? Why are we talking about water harvesting, keeping water, all sorts of things about water? Say water is and has become the most important commodity, like the most important mineral. So water is most important, especially also in Africa, in developed countries, whereby most of the, like in Malawi, whereby most of the communities rely on irrigation, rely on farming to feed their families and for their income. Even the cities will also rely for water to supply water within the city. So water basically is the most important commodity that people are scrambling for. So water being the most important commodity, it has to be preserved, it has to be kept, it has to be harvested. And also it has to be kept not only for the present generation, but also for the future generations. So there are so many ways of harvesting water, starting from the individual level and then community level and then national level. So after this presentation, we'll also discuss those other ways that also integrate to the community level and also to the national level. You can go to the second slide. Second slide.
Yeah, just a minute. It's
right.
Hold on.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so yeah, we'll be talking about water harvesting innovation practices on the farm. I should say we are discussing currently in this slide. We are now discussing the water harvesting innovation practices that were studied by my late father, Dr. Chinkhuntha, and then that has been adapted for us, for myself, for the family, and then for the communities as well, and even for the farmers within Malawi. So one of them is a water swale. First, I should say, when looking into water harvesting, we consider three factors. So the first factor we consider to stop the water. So I believe to say we have to stop the water from flooding. We have to stop the water from flowing. We have to stop the water from eroding the soils. Now, after stopping this water, the other factor is spreading it. So you have stopped the water, you also have to spread it. So you have to spread it throughout your run after stopping the water from running off. And then after spreading this water, you also look into sinking the water. So you look into three factors that helps in creating the technologies for harvesting water. Stop the water, spread the water, and then sink the water. So one of the structures we're talking about is a swale. Usually, swales mostly work based on the upper lands. There are several structures of the swales. One of the structures is which was shown in which is featured on the video clip. I'll just try to explain the dimensions of the swales. Like the one on the video clip is a concentric swale. It's about 1.5 meters. So these are swales that can be dug at several locations on the upper land, targeting the lower land. They may also still be constructed on the lower land, targeting to harvest the water. The other type of the swale is always long. Yeah, it's long in distance. These are mostly small swales. They are mostly dug on the fields, especially on the upper lands. So these swales helps in stopping runoff from the upper land and then seeking the water after stopping the runoff and harvesting the water. So these swales are dug with several parameters. Yeah, so these swales will be 60 centimeter in width, and then about 60 centimeter to 45 centimeter depth. But then usually they are dug with several different parameters, like the upper width. The upper width will be 60 centimeter or 45 centimeter, while the lower width, the depth, the width on the depth is about 30 centimeter to 40 centimeter or to 45 centimeter, depending with the width that you started with on the top. We want to dig this swale in a V shape. So as to say, during the rainy season, you don't have the soil eroding, much of the soil eroding back and filling up the swale. So when you put it in a V shape, it is able to harvest this water. Depending on the areas, the dimensions may differ, provided you are following the V shape and then the depth that would be able to harvest the water. So swales are the most important, especially when working especially when working with the mass of the rural communities, whereby they have a vast land. So the communities can be engaged into putting up the swales in their fields. That will help to harvest much of the rainwater during the rainy season. And this ends up recharging the aquifer, so that the aquifer has more water that provides into the streams. Yeah. Yeah, so swales are most important. I should say swales are one of the structures that also connects with the individual and also the community level at large. So swales has to be done at individual level and also at a community level. So the community will have to work together so that they have the series of swales in their fields. So this also involves other players like government, like NGOs, to help facilitating putting up of swales in the villages. So swales are one of the most important structures. Can move to the next slide. Yes, a holding tank. Yeah, holding tank. Holding tank. The best way, I should say, there are several measures of holding tanks, but in this case, we are talking about just like something like a natural holding tank. So this is like a very big pond that is dug on the upper land. targeting to harvest water during the rainy season and also to harvest water during the dry season. So this is like you are digging a pond, but then on the upper land. This pond, the specific purpose is to sink water underground. When it's dug on the upper land, this means to say during the rainy season, it will keep on collecting much of the runoff and then sinking this runoff underground. And as this runoff is sinking underground, this means to say if you have so many series of the holding tanks, this means to say you are now able to harvest and to trap much of the water during the rainy season. Instead of letting this water go into the ocean, this water is trapped in these holding tanks. Now, because these are as big as the fish ponds, they are holding more water, and then they are sinking more water underground. Now, this increases the volume of the aquifer recharge, which then increases the volume that you are able to use after the rainy season. So the most, let me say, the most affordable holding tanks are earth holding tanks, whereby you just dig and then leave it to the earth and then leave it for the water to sink. There are other holding tanks that may be constructed with things like bricks and cement. But then these holding tanks will not necessarily be able to sink the water. Such types of holding tanks ends up, you need, after the rainy season, for you to use the water, you need to have the pumping system or the drainage system so that you are able to use the water. But then basically we are looking into the holding tanks that are able to sink the water underground. So holding tanks are one of the most important water harvesting structures. I should say, basically, in putting up these structures, you also learn from nature and then from the things that are learned within the community. So the idea of the water tank came from the idea of I'll mention like in Chichewa it's called Nkuti. Nkuti is the same as Swales. Usually when people are molding bricks or else are building muddy houses, because they are digging the earth to mold the houses, they'll end up leaving the holes on the earth. Now, with natural practical experience during the rainy season, these holes that are left, they are filled with water during the rainy season. Now, the idea came to say, if we have these in a larger size like fish ponds, then we'll be able to harvest much water, which we'll be able to use after the rainy season. So holding tanks are the most, in addition to harvesting this water with holding tanks, as they sink the water underground, they also are irrigating the vegetation, especially the trees that have their roots that goes underground. So it's like you are creating an underground irrigation system without necessarily burying and putting pipes on the underground irrigation system. So it's also part of the natural underground irrigation system. So I just irrigate the trees naturally. So holding tanks are most important in harvesting the water. If holding tanks are done, they may be done on a community level. So if done on a community level, they will require much of the several stakeholders so that the communities can have several holding tanks, of which they will be able to harvest this water on the upper land. As they harvest water on the upper land, they keep on recharging their rivers, recharging their streams, thereby providing water almost throughout the year with their streams, with their water. Yes. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, the fish ponds. Yeah, this is one of the very important aspects. Unlike the fish ponds, I should say, fish ponds are somehow similar to the holding tanks. The holding tanks, these are dug on the upper land, whereby you leave the holding tanks to dry up, You leave the holding tanks to keep on drying up after the rainy season. If you have running water from the stream, you keep on recharging those holding tanks. Unlike the fish ponds now. With the fish ponds, you are digging these ponds. Now, in the first place, you are digging these ponds underground. So in the first place, they are not fish ponds. In the first place, they are just ponds, whereby you are digging them so that you should be able to harvest water during the rainy season. Now, with the fish ponds, you dig them whereby with these ponds, you dig them, you construct them in areas, in number areas, let me say also in valley areas, basically to say in areas where you have water, even in areas where you be supplied with water all year round. So this is to say you are digging the ponds on the earth. Now, in the first place, these ponds, you are relying on the water from the underground. So water from the underground will fill up these fish ponds, and we keep on holding masses of water in these fish ponds. After the rainy season, whereby you have other streams close by, you still use these ponds for harvesting the water. Remember, in the first place, these are just ponds, not necessarily fish ponds. So after the rainy season, you are also able to divert the water from the stream to keep on recharging these fish ponds. Now, this means to say we are keeping on adding the water onto the underground. We are keeping on adding the water onto the underground, onto the already existing water in the underground structures. So as this keeps on keeping on the body masses of water, and as we keep on harvesting this water after the rainy season, the fish ponds work in two ways. In the first place, they are holding the masses of water, of which we are able to harvest after the rainy season when the stream goes dry. Then we are able to harvest this water for irrigation, either through pumping the water or through using gravity flow of the water from the fish ponds. In addition to say, these fish ponds are holding large masses of water. This means to say they recharge the aquifer. They recharge the aquifer with the large masses of water. Now, as they recharge the aquifer, they end up creating swampy conditions, large masses of swampy conditions within the valley system. Now, as these swampy conditions are created, they create the drainage system from the swampy conditions that provide the irrigation system. So if I want to say, these innovative structures are interconnected to each other. Now, because these are ponds, they are fish ponds, they are used for harvesting the water. We can then use them for other economic factors and for other nutritional factors. Now, with economic factors, that's when you bring in the fish to make them into the fish ponds. So just through water harvesting, there are also other related, so many factors that are involved with water harvesting. So you bring in the fish, by bringing in the fish, by bringing in the fish into the fish ponds, we also create the economic factor of the fish ponds. So that means to say, in addition to this water harvesting, we are also creating the economic warfare for the family. In addition to that, fish are one of the best protein sources, non-fat protein sources, and also I should say, sodium protein sources, because in fish we have enough sodium, enough salt. So by keeping fish, we are providing the family with enough food protein. So just by harvesting this water, it's bringing us so many factors that is a benefit to the family. So if I want to say all the water harvesting sources we'll be discussing about, they are interconnected, they are interlinked within the farm, within the community. So it's not just about water harvesting on its own. It's providing us so many benefits. Yeah. In addition to the fish farming, as we are harvesting water, they are also a source of tourism. So many innovative practices for tourism can be introduced within the fish ponds. So if I want to say this mass of water that's being harvested will bring the economic factor, a big advantage of the economic factor to the families, and also a big advantage of the protein factor to the families. So in short, these water harvesting structures will keep on bringing the food sovereignty to the families and also the economic welfare to the families. Yeah. We can move to the next slide. Yeah, sunken plots. Yeah, these are one of the most important structures for harvesting the water. Sunken plots works in so many ways for water harvesting. So this means to say the plots, be them small, be them big, be them how big small, how small, or how big, yeah. So this provide a very big platform, and also in addition to a very big platform, they provide a very big interconnected series within the farm that provides for water harvesting. And then they also have so much benefits within the farm for water harvesting. So by sunken plots, we mean to say these plots are sunken in nature. This means that these plots are lowered underground. So they have boundaries that are raised. And then the initial plot is under, yeah, the initial plot is under these boundaries. So this means to say they are interconnected with the raised boundaries that are blocking these plots. And then as these raised borders are blocked these plots in the first place during the rainy season, they are controlling the runoff. This means to say these plots are leveled so that to say water doesn't flow at water flows at a very gentle speed. So water will flow very slowly even during the rainy season. Now, as this water flows very slowly in each plot, it's enabling the sinking of water underground. So much of this water is sinking underground. So much of the water is being trapped within the plot system. So that increases a series of water harvesting structures. Like in our case, like in Freedom Gardens case, close by, we have a stream, I can say a river that passes by. And then we have experience to say during rainy season, sometimes we do the river does overflood. Now, as the river overfloods, the floods are then trapped by these series of sunken plots. Now, as they are trapped by these series of sunken plots, they are able now to sink this water. Now, this means to say, by trapping the flooding water, we are also preventing the wash away within the gardens, because this trapped water has to, this flooding water has to fill the first sunken plot, and then they fill another sunken plot, they fill another sunken plot. That means to say, it won't take much time until the floods recedes on the stream. And then it won't much take time for the floods, for the floods to be trapped within the series of the sunken plots. So the sunken plots helps in so many ways in trapping the water and in harvesting the water. Now, this is also to say, depending with the level of the sunken plots will help bring the water closer to the crops rather than bringing crops to water. So with the sunken plots, we enable to bring water closer to crops, because there are some of the plots that we use with just residual moisture. That is a result of harvesting the water. So that means to say we bring the water in some of the plots within the garden system with the water harvesting in the sunken plots, we bring the water closer to the crops. So we are able to plant these crops and then up until we harvest, just using the residual moisture. So there are so much benefits with sunken plots. The same sunken plots they are still used for water harvesting. They can also used for other cereals that require much water for growing, like rice. Yeah, so we are able to use the very sunken plots, just structure them, and then just harvest more water, and then we are able to grow rice, of which we are able to harvest even after the rainy season, because the sunken plots enables us to harvest enough water and also to keep enough water. So yeah, as we see the series on the presentation, these sunken plots are most important, and then most important part of the farm's structures. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yes, terraces. Yeah, we have terraces, trees, hedge, and vegetation. But then I'll start speaking with terraces. Terraces are much important. I should say, maybe we do have so very few people doing terraces in Africa and Malawi, but then terraces have proved to provide a very basic source for water harvesting, a very basic platform for water harvesting. There are several designs of terraces. Now, these terraces will be put in series, especially now these terraces are put on the slope land. So these terraces will be put in series. Now, as these terraces are put in series, they help in reducing the runoff, such that as the water flows, because this terrace is created in a flat way, water flows very slowly. And then as the water flows very gently, it enables the infiltration of the water underground. One of the most important terraces are those that have a gentle slope towards the uphill. So you create a gentle slope towards your hill. So this means to say, as you trap the water, you are directing the water against the slope. So you harvest the water against the slope. So the water will flow against the slope rather than flowing where the slope is going. So now, for the terraces to help in harvesting the water better, then they are then used for planting other vegetation. So you can use grasses to plant on the terraces. You can use crops to plant on the terraces during the rainy season. So you can use anything that will help in trapping the water underground from fast flowing. So as the water flows very slowly, it's trapped to sink underground. Now we come to the trees and hedges. These also, generally, let me say the agroforestry part. These also plays a very big part in water harvesting. Why do these play a very big part in water harvesting? In the first place, the trees and the vegetation will help in reducing the water drop impact. So there's not that water drop splash that creates water erosion. In this case, water flows directly into the trees, and then as the water flows directly into the trees, that means to say they will just end up flowing underground. Now, as this water just flows underground, it helps making the water flow at a very small pace. Now, as this water flows at a very small pace, at the same time, the water is trapped with the roots. The water is trapped with the hedges that are created within the terraces. So all these structures interconnected, they will help in harvesting this water. In addition to that, the trees will also provide an economic factor also provide a nutritious nutrition factor. In this regard, to say, we can have several indigenous trees and then several grafted trees planted on the terraces. Now, these trees will help in harvesting this water and then irrigating themselves, and also keeping the water underground for the sustenance of irrigation, underground irrigation after the rainy season. So yeah, trees, hedges, and grasses, these are very, very, very important for water harvesting, because they help in recharging the aquifer, and they help in harvesting the rainwater during the rainy season. Yes, I think this is the last slide. I think this is the last slide. Maybe, yeah, the last slide. This is the end of the slides that I did prepare. But then also, should say, yeah, I would also love to speak of other interconnected structures that needs different players, like the government, like the government and other NGOs in water harvesting. So, for instance, is to say, let's look into things like roads. When infrastructures like roads and buildings are being constructed, there is need of coming up into consensus with the government and other NGOs, so that the water that is drained from these roads and then drained from these infrastructures should be harvested. You find to say most of the water that are drained from roads and other infrastructures are just lost by. So this water just goes back into the ocean without being harvested. So you find to say, after the rainy season, the nations, the world as such, ends up losing much of the water that would have been harvested. But then this is because water from these structures cannot necessarily be, the water harvesting structures cannot necessarily be done by an individual, because to say these are interconnected within the communities, within several setups. So there's a need of, before building these structures, or after, especially before building, and then as we build these structures, there's a need of setting up structures that will enable.
We may have lost the connection with Daniel.
Yeah. I think whilst we wait for him to reconnect, I just want to appreciate Daniel for a very comprehensive presentation. I think I always appreciate it. Okay. Welcome back, Daniel. Okay, go ahead.
No, I think the thing is gone again.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying I really always appreciate Daniel for stepping into the big shoes that were left by his late father, who built much of that infrastructure at Tikondwe Freedom Gardens. You could see in the video the size of the ponds that are there. And that was the work of his father's hands. So it's really pleasing to see young people who take on the work that is left by the parents, the elders, and for him to run with this work so beautifully, it's really impressive.
Daniel's back.
Hello, Daniel.
Yes, hello.
Okay, yeah, we lost you temporarily. You can proceed.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I was saying to say there are other different structures that will involve the community as such, and then the nation, the government as such, and other NGOs. So we started with harvesting the water from the structures, from infrastructures like the roads and the buildings. So we are saying to say this has to involve the government and the NGOs that are and the communities that are primarily interconnected with these structures, so that during the project design, there should be designs that will provide for harvesting this water that's draining away from these structures. Now, in addition so there are other structures like let's go into the river system. There are other structures that may be created within the river setup system that will also involve the communities, NGOs, and government. In this regard, we are looking to creating the dams within the river systems. You find to say during the rainy season, we lose much of the water because we do not have the dams that helps in harvesting the water. But then these cannot be done on an individual level, on an individual basis. So creating dams will require different players. So dams are very, very, very good as well in harvesting the water. We are also talking of the Swales that may be built within the farmers' fields. Now, because you are working with different farmers, you also need an involvement of the community, so that each person within the community should be able to understand the benefits of putting up the Swales. And then as the community understand the benefits, they should be able to accept. Now, once the communities accept the benefits of putting up these structures, they will do this, they'll put up the structures willfully. So some of these structures will still involve the communities. I should say water harvesting alone is also interconnected with the communities and then with the nation as such. So it's good to say the nations, the governments, especially in Africa, should also have policies that are biased on water harvesting technologies, so that despite on an individual level harvesting the water, the nations should be able to harvest this water. Yes, this is what I wanted to add up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel. Very, very comprehensive and very clear presentation, and covering a wide range of techniques. Very much appreciated, Daniel, and we can give space to people who would like to get more information. Already in the chat, we have quite a lot of sharing that is going on there, and some questions are emerging, but we'll invite participants to ask and comment about the presentation that we've had. So please feel free to raise your hands, and Minnie, you can help to give space to different people who would like to make their contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. That was really an excellent, very comprehensive presentation, as Walter said, and it touched on different kinds of water harvesting that you're already doing on the farm and the benefits of them, not just to the farm, but also to the wider community, and how these different methods interconnect. So here we go. There are questions. There's one question already in the chat. I can read that out while others are thinking. Annie says she's very much interested in the area where rice was planted. Was that a dry land to start with? And as a result of the water harvesting, was the land able to hold more water? Daniel, would you like to respond to that?
Right. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. Okay. Yeah. The area that we have planted the rice. Should say the area that we have planted the rice is as a result of the continuous series of water harvesting. So this is on the lower side of the farm. Now, because we do much of the harvesting on the upper side, it creates the swamps. Now, in the first place, we did plant this rice because of the swamps that we are created. Now, after the rainy season, because we had already harvested enough water, and also because we keep on harvesting water on the fish ponds, as I mentioned. Now, this series of harvesting enables us to still keep the rice up to this stage. In addition to that, because of the water that we are still harvesting, there are other swampy conditions that have been created, which means to say we can still create those swampy conditions in the sunken plots to still grow the rice. Let me know if I've answered the question correctly.
Yes,
then I can take another question if this is answered correctly.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you, Daniel. Well, we have now Peter's got his hand up. Peter, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Daniel, for a very comprehensive overview of, I think you said 9 different water harvesting approaches. I have had the chance of having gone to Malawi, and most of the farms I saw were very small. And I think from what I've seen of your presentation, your farm seems to be much larger and has access to many more resources than perhaps most farmers in Malawi would have. And sort of framing my question now, you mentioned that some of your water harvesting techniques cannot be done at the individual level. I think I heard you say that, and that requires working with communities. And that makes sense to me because I don't think that any individual farmer could put into effect all of those different, very well documented water harvesting. So my question now is this: do you work with communities or maybe municipalities to develop some sort of landscape approach or watershed approach to planning, so that you can look at the wider water resource and where it flows, so that those areas that are swampy, you can do this, and in some places you can put in fish ponds and so on, but that is often beyond the 2 hectares or so that farmers have. So I'm just wondering, is that part of your outreach, or do you work mostly with individual farmers to promote 1 or 2 or 3 of the different water harvesting techniques that you've illustrated?
Right. Quite a very, very good question. I should say mostly on the water harvesting technologies, there are several ways because we are living in the community. Now, because living in the community in the first place, we work with the community. As with the community in this regard to say, as the community comes within the farm, they are able to learn and appreciate the several different practices. I should say one of the challenges to say, because gathering large masses of communities also require other resources to get them into putting up the practices. But in these communities, we put up the practices individually. I hope you get my point. So we put up the practices individually. In addition to this, other NGOs also works with us in training their respective communities in water harvesting technologies that can be implemented within their rural setup. So basically, that's how we work with these. That's how we work to outreach the practices, the water harvesting practices.
So just to follow up quickly, you do not have like help communities make a land use plan for the area of that community. That's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
You work with individual farmers for most of the, also within the
Yes.
context of community, but it's mostly individual farms, right? Farmers.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. So now there are quite a few questions coming up in the chat, and some of them are around the sunken plots. And then there's a question about the rainfall. How much rainfall do you get in your region, and what is the duration of the dry period? And then what kind of soil do you have on your farm? And then there is a question on policy. So Daniel, which one would you like to take the question on sunken plots? What is the size,
Yes.
breadth, and width? And then I wanted to ask a question about when you said that during the flood, when it floods, the river floods, and the water is trapped in the sunken plots. How long do your sunken plots hold that water for? How is the movement of water between the different sunken plots, and how soon can you start using those plots for actually sowing something in them when the water drains away? How long does it take for the water to sink in? And then we can go on to the question on the rainfall and the soil and the policies.
All right. Okay. Right. Yeah. So I'll start with there are several questions. Can you repeat the first question you asked? I want to start with that.
Okay, so the question first was what is the size of your sunken plots, the width and the depth of these sunken plots? Yes.
All right. Okay. I should say that we have several sizes and depths of the sunken plots. The breadth and the width. Some are 50 meters by 20 meters. Some are 20 meters by 30 meters. Some are 70 meters by 20 meters. So they have got different dimensions. So I say with the sunken plots, they can be as small as this one, as big as the dimensions I have mentioned, depending with the acreage, the hectareage someone has. So it will depend with the designing and the hectareage that someone has. You also ask in relation to the flooding, and then how is this water, how are we able to plant after the flooding? Yeah, I should say, yeah, there are several factors interconnected into this. As the water floods into the gardens, that means to say these sunken plots have trapped the water. Now, as these sunken plots have trapped the water, this will depend with the size and the level of water availability underground at the time of the flooding. So there are some sunken plots which will keep water for a long period of time, thereby creating swampy conditions. There are other sunken plots which will dry up, to enable for plant cultivation within 7 days of flooding. So there are other sunken plots whereby if we are required to plant into such sunken plots, if they are still have the flooding water, then we are able to create the drainage to enable this water from the sunken plot to drain into the other plot, so that we are able to plant in such sunken plots. So basically, it's within 7 days after the flooding for us to plant the crops. But then other sunken plots will remain swampy. up until the dry season.
Right. So suppose, all the sunken plots have trapped lots of flood water in them and they overflow. Is there a system for managing the overflow?
Yes, all the sunken plots are interconnected with a drainage system underground. In case to say we need to drain some of the water. So once we need to drain some of the water, we'll open up the drainage systems to drain the excess water into other sunken plot structures or else into other water harvesting structures.
Thank you.
So, yes. There was any question I've missed from the questions you
that's
asked?
good. It's good. I mean, I think there's quite an interest. There, few people have been talking about the sunken plots, and I must say that we have come across them, and it's really good to know that there is a real practice going on your farm. Let's quickly move on to other questions. One of the questions is about what is the average rainfall in your area in terms of millimeters per year, and what is the duration of the dry season?
Right, quite a very, very good question. Very good question, especially in relation to water harvesting and also in relation to water as the most precious commodity and also in relation to how much water has become most important in the rural areas. Should say with the average rainfall data is around 500 millimeters to 900 millimeters per year. The average rainfall days, I should say, we usually have rainfall these days, unlike in the past days. Okay, let me say, I think we actually start with the past years. With the past years from around 80s to early to late 90s, we used to have around 1,000 millimeters of rainfall. And then that was even the time when I started hearing about climate change. So we used to have around 1,000 millimeters of rainfall per year. We used to have rains from October to April. And then we used to have that's for the rainy season. We used to have from October to April. And then the cold season, cold dry season, used to start from April, May to September or early October. Now, the weather has been changing such that currently we have rains from December, rarely from November, but mostly from December, and sometimes from January up until March. So it's so rare we have rains up to April. And then usually these days we have so it's like we have 3 months of rains. And then for the 3 months of rains, we have usually around 50 to 56 days of rainy days. So within these 3 months, we have around 50 to 56 days of rainy days. So now, in terms of rainfall millimeters, it's around 500 to 900 millimeters. But usually it's mostly around 600 millimeters. It's only for the last 2 years when we had rains around 900 millimeters. So should say our rainfall is drastically going down. In addition to the rainfall, we are now also experiencing high temperatures. So it's like we have more long and dry conditions with longer high temperatures, unlike in the past. As I said, to say some of the water harvesting technology also involve the communities. I should say in the past, we used to have forests because we're surrounded by hills. So we used to have a forest in the hills. Unlike these days, with population increase, with economic pressure, with food pressure in the communities, this has forced the communities to resort into deforestation. So these are all the factors that are also adding up into the reduction in rainfall and also for the climatic change factors. There's something about policy.
Just before we get into the policy question, could you just add
Yes.
what kind of soil you have on your farm? Is it clay? Is it laterite? What kind of soil it is?
Right. Quite a good question. In addition to that, I should say the farm started by 10 by 10 meters land. So from 10 by 10 meters land, uh, people have been selling their land to the so the farm started in 1982 with a 10 meters by 10 meters land. And then from the 10 meters by 10 meters land, the farm has grown to more than 10 hectares, following the permaculture principles and then following buying land from people. As the family was buying the land wasn't suitable for cultivation because the land had much of the clay soils, rainy soils, and swampy. So it has been about reclaiming the land for production, such that to date, from the clay soils, from the sandy soils, from the swamps, much of the land has been turned into loam soils, which are suitable for most of the crops cultivation. We still have parts of the land that still have clay, that are still sandy, but then it's been changed up throughout the process. So currently, much of the land is loam soil with fertile soils attributed to these water harvesting technologies and all the permaculture practice principles.
Thank you. Just before we get into the policy question, I want to say to everybody, whoever's joined in new to the Water School Africa online session, if you would like to know more about such sessions in the future, or like to know the program we have, or like to stay in touch with us, don't forget to post your email in the chat and we will add you to the group, so you will always have info about when the next session is and who is presenting in the next session. Usually the Water School Africa sessions are on the first Tuesday of every month, and so you can look out for that. And we have an exciting program as more and more people talk about the successful water holding practices across the continent of Africa. We'll bring you as more and more people, we get to know more about them. The other thing to add here is, if you know of somebody or yourself are doing some exciting water holding work on your farms and your land, do get in touch with us. We'd really love to know and hear about the work that you're doing. Okay, so don't forget to put your email or contact details in the chat in this call. So now the question on policy is from Kenneth, who says he's very impressed with the advice given that governments must come up with policies on water harvesting technologies. So could you give examples of any country with such policy and how it is of benefit to citizens there? He's from Zambia.
All right, a very good question. I should say currently in Malawi, we don't have a policy biased on water harvesting technologies. So I should say it's one of the things that that I would love my the Malawian government and the other governments to include in the policies. This is to say, in relation to the infrastructures, like to say in Malawi, where the government is currently building the roads, but then there are no other deliberate practices that will enable the harvesting of the roads that will be drained away from the roads. So currently there are no policies. So it's something that I would love the government to include in the policies, so that we should still be able to harvest water from the infrastructure that the governments are building. Yeah. Question answered? Hello?
Kenneth, would you like to ask more, or is your question answered?
Yeah, all right. I think there was a question, I saw a question on terraces. Someone asked something on terraces.
I'll look for that and I'll find that. In the meantime, somebody's asking, do you have any advice on reviving wetlands?
On a reviving, say
Wetlands.
again, wetlands.
Do you have any advice on reviving wetlands?
Oh, yes, exactly. I should say, Africa has been losing much of the wetlands that we have had. Wetlands can be revived, but then on reviving wetlands, reviving wetlands will need to involve at least 3 players. Firstly, the individuals associated with the wetlands, and then the communities involved with the wetlands. And this will also need to involve the government and NGOs in putting up the structures that may enable to revive the wetlands. So yeah, Africa has lost much of the wetlands that would provide much of the water for the people. That would assist in water harvesting, that would assist in keeping the water. So yeah, my best advice is to work with the individuals, work with the communities, work with the government in reviving the wetlands. Also, as I mentioned on the policies, I should say in reviving the wetlands, having the policies biased towards water harvesting, that will also help in facilitating enabling the work in reviving the wetlands.
Thank you.
Yeah, so policies would work best in this case.
Bertha, would you like to ask your question?
Hello, everyone. So my question, thank you very much, Daniel. So my question was on terraces. I was asking about the width of terraces, if there are any recommendations in terms of width on terraces.
Right. That's a very good question. I should say, in terms of width and length, basically it would depend with how much land one has. It also depends with the purpose of the terraces. So basically, there's no much like direction for the width. But then, if these terraces are put on a much steeper land, then I would provide like a guidance on the width. So if the land is much steeper, the recommended width for terraces would be from 5 meters to 20 meters, depending on the steepness of the land. So anything within 5 meters to 20 meters would provide a better width for terraces. But then, as I said, it also depends with one's purposes for putting up these terraces. In addition to this, the other best way of putting up, though this involves much work, so it's not easy, but then the other way of putting up these terraces is creating the slope of the terrace against the slope of the land. I hope you get that. So the slope of the terrace must go against the slope of the land. That means to say, this water will be harvested against the slope of the land. So it's like it says, for instance, if it's a hill, you end up putting much water back into the hill. So you end up harvesting much water back into this hill, of which will enable recharging back into the aquifer with much water, and then keeping the vegetation, and then you're getting the vegetation, and then trapping the water within the hill. Question taken, well answered.
Thank you, Daniel.
Clear?
Rachel, just before we come to you, there's a question on trees, Daniel. Would it be possible to recommend some good trees that help for underground water harvesting with root systems? Traditionally, I know water bellies, figs. Would you like to?
Yeah, there are several trees like the mahogany. The figs, as you mentioned. Yeah, there are so many trees, but if you can share me the contacts, and then I can give up the advice better later.
Yeah. And
But
anybody else
inclusive
who
with the
might know as well.
yes.
We can, if anybody can also has some knowledge, don't hesitate to put it in the chat, you know, and share that with the others. Rachel, we
But
can
also
come
just,
to you. Yeah, sorry, somebody was
yeah.
saying something.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on the trees that helps in water harvesting. Mostly, I should say, in the rural setups, there have been trees that grow within the double lands, wetlands, or gardens that are well known for sustaining water availability within the trees. Basically, communities will be able to say, these trees, if you cut them, the stream will go dry. So the other way is also to learn from communities, to learn from nature. So that will best explain which better trees will be able to sustain water, in addition to a few of the trees that have been mentioned.
Thank you. Rachel, do you want to go ahead? Rachel, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Rachel. I come from Trans Community Organization. It is my very first time to be in this meeting. It's such a very educative and comprehensive presentation by Daniel here. Daniel, thank you so much for what you presented. It is so informative, and I would like to borrow the same leaf for my community. I like to say that I am also I'm so excited that thank you so much for Mr. Zachary Makanya, who was able to introduce me to this forum. It is so informative. In my community, people have been struggling so much on matters of security. Water harvesting is not taken in very seriously. And our organization, we work with the farmers, young farmers, some of them are youths. And now the issue comes in when we talk about the land. So most of them are so worried, how do I get land when I'm not entitled to owning one? But now my question is, I just wanted to find out, I don't know if it is not in the right context, but let me just find out if it is, how it can work. Like, for example, when you're harvesting water from the other catchment areas, you say that it is a community program. Maybe there is one of your methods I've seen here is like we have the water swale. It is a place where you collect water. Now there is the catchment area. There is somebody who has poisoned the area with some kind of the pollution, something that has polluted the water that you are trying to collect. What do you do in such a situation? Because at the end of the day, if the water has been polluted by any other formula of through the human activities, and then the water has been polluted, you want to use it for irrigating your farm, to do some other activity in your farm, or maybe you also have fish inside that in that swale. How do you go about it? Now, when we have such kind of information within ourselves, it will be very easy for me to go to my community as well and inform my people on the same. Once again, Daniel, thank you so much for that comprehensive presentation. I've really learned a lot. Thank you.
Rachel, I think you also had a question on slopy lands.
Yeah, actually, we have most of our farmers have land that is on top of these smaller mountains, and they are so rocky. They have so many rocks on their lands. So I'm trying to understand what would be the best formula to help them harvest water in such a situation.
Thank you, Daniel.
Right. Thank you so much. I lost you during some of when you are talking, but I hope to say I'll be able to. Hello, there's an echo.
There is an echo. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's stopped
sure.
now. It's stopped
All right.
now.
Okay. All
Go
right.
ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I hope to say I'll be able to answer whatever you ask. If I don't touch anything you ask, then let me know. The first, I would start to say, in contaminating the water harvesting structures, how best can the water be used? I should say, in the first place, I'm not sure if you followed this, but then when coming up with these water harvesting structures with the communities, one of the important things is putting up bylaws. The bylaws to say what the communities should follow and must follow in order to sustain the water harvesting structures. This means to say the bylaws need to follow up with punishment from the community leaders for those involved contaminating and also destroying the water harvesting structures. Because I do understand with the communities in Africa, there's so much things that happens within the communities. Things like jealous against one another, and like so. There are so much things that we cannot deal with unless the community themselves. So putting up the bylaws and also putting up principles that the communities should put on, so that people would be able to fear contaminating these structures. Now, coming up to the contaminated structures, I should say the only best way, if the structures are contaminated, is to drain them up. But then, before draining the structures up, you also need to work with other environmental actors that may enable any draining up the structures properly. Because the water that has been contaminated can no longer be used. So it has to be drained and then start the process again. So bylaws would.
We've lost Daniel, I think. Walter.
Yes, I think we have lost him briefly, and I don't know whether he was going to add much more, but I think he started answering the question that was asked. Maybe I can also help in answering some of the other questions that have been asked. You can just remind me, Minnie, and then I can.
Yeah, there have been, I think most of the questions have more or less been covered. And there are some good suggestions coming around from people in terms of what kind of plants they can plant around. So somebody says vetiver grass, and another somebody has given a Latin name. The Alnus acuminata can help in underground water harvesting and bring it back to topsoil with nutrients through leaves. Does anybody know the common name of Alnus acuminata? We can look it up. No worries.
Yeah, we can look it up. Yes.
Minnie, can I be around?
Yeah, so we're nearing towards the end of our session. Unless there are any burning questions, I think I'll hand over to Walter to give a vote of thanks.
I think before you hand over to Walter, there's another question related to rocks and water harvesting, something like that. Hello?
We'll look through. What was the question you spotted, Daniel?
Yeah, it was, I think Russia was saying the community, they are in a rocky area. There are a lot of hills with the rocks. The community where they are working. So with there are some ideas about the water harvesting work in rocky areas.
All right. A very good question, but then I think the best way to answer that question would be to have a view of the rocky, how rocky the area is. Maybe anyone who may have other suggestions.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, sorry, it's an echo now. My suggestion would be that the rocks are actually a resource in rainwater harvesting. So the rocks or stones can be used as construction materials for constructing the rainwater harvesting structures in that area. So they are very useful in building ponds, check dams that are needed in terms of harvesting water in a community. So that's actually an asset, a resource in rainwater harvesting. Thank you very much.
So one thing to add here is if you have questions which occur to you after the session, or if your question is not fully answered, you can reply to the mail that was sent to you on the Google Groups, and a conversation thread can start and others can respond to it. Now, the session's been running for about an hour and a half, and that's usually our time. So I can see 2 more questions. We'll take them quickly. And then I suggest we close the session and carry on further questions that come through the platform of the Google Groups, that is the Water School Africa online sessions. Yeah. So Arams, would you like to ask your question?
Yes.
I want to ask.
Hello. Do you hear
Daniel,
me?
there is a kind of.
Go ahead, Arams.
Hello.
Yes. Is there a river around around the farm that you can use? Why?
Hello. Hello. I can see Prosper also speaking. Do you get me?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Hello.
Hold on a minute.
Do you get me?
There are 2
Yes, I
people
can get you,
speaking
but
at the same time. Prosper, Arams was asking his question, and can we come to you after he finishes?
Okay.
Thank you. Arams, please continue.
Yes, Minnie. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
yes, I can
Please
hear
go ahead.
you.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Mine is just a comment. Hello.
Yes, hello. I
Mine is
can
just a
hear you.
comment.
Daniel, we can hear you. Arams is
Okay, thank
asking a question.
No, it's not a question. Mine is just a comment.
Do go ahead.
My
Please
first comment.
comment.
My comment is on what Chinkhuntha presented about the big trees on how they conserve water. In most of our rivers, this time around, trees are cut down and they are drying up. But now, if we look back, 10 years back, we had big trees around rivers, around wells, and there was really good care of water. We had enough water. And again, I was also to comment on what water presented about the Swales, where there are stones. The stones, they also assist us to stop the runoff in the Swales, to reduce runoff. We didn't build them there instead of using vetiver. Then stones, they also work the same way. If you don't have stones, then you plant vetiver across the Swales. And what we really need is the water to move slowly and much water to sink down. so that we raise the water table. Thank you very much. I want to just comment on that one.
Thank you. Very useful comment,
Thank
Aram.
you so much. Yes.
So we'll go to the last question of the session. Prosper, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Prosper? You have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to ask if there is another option of having a river around the farm that can be used as a solution while there is no rain. Is there a runoff or a river, a natural river?
Daniel, I think Prosper's asking if there is a river around your farm. Yes.
Yes, yeah. There's a river around the farm. Is it okay? I want to get it right. Is it asking about okay, is he asking about if there is a river around the farm, or else what can one do if he has no river around the farm? Yeah.
Prosper, would you like to clarify your question a bit more?
I want to ask if he's only dealing with rainwater, or if there is he's using another option as natural water around.
Did you get that, Daniel?
Okay. Yes, I get that. I get that. I should say, yeah, we have a river that runs close by the farm. So by harvesting water, we harvest both. In the first place, we harvest water from the river. Now, after the rains, we also harvest water from the river that runs across the farm. But this river will usually dry up by October, November, or December. So we still rely on the water that we previously harvested. Yeah.
Thank you.
Answered your question?
Yes, thank you.
So one of the things around this is always, of course, that if you have more and more such structures that Daniel has talked about, and they are upstream, if it's hilly land or slopey land, as Rachel was asking, then often that the overflow of that, like we see in India, can actually feed the river and help the river remain alive during the months where there is no rains or there is no water falling from the sky. So very interesting and good comprehensive discussion around your work, Daniel. Really, a lot of good questions came out. And if people still have more questions, don't forget to post them on the Google group chat, and a thread will begin over there, and others can give answers to it, or a discussion can ensue. This session we will close right here, and I'll hand over to Walter if you want to add something before we formally bring the session to a close. Go ahead, Walter.
Yeah, thank you, Minnie, and big thanks to Daniel for such a wonderful presentation, inspiring presentation. I think it has inspired a number of people, judging by the debate, the discussion that has gone on. And yeah, thank you for fitting in very well into the big shoes left by your father, Dr. Chinkhuntha. And also thank you to all the participants that have turned up today. Let's keep connecting around the issue of water. Let's form a movement that will make us become water wise, working with the water cycle, so that we can improve both the quality and the quantity of water that are available in our communities. Thank you very much, and all the best. We meet again next month, same day, same time. Thank you.
Thank you again from myself as well, Daniel. Big shoes.
Thank you.
Big mark made by you as well. So Bye, everyone.
you
Do
so
stay
much.
in touch, and see you next time, which is on the first Tuesday of August, which is the 6th of July, 6th of August. So we'll see you then. But you'll hear from us about who will be presenting, etc. well before that. So look out for that in your email. Go well, everybody. Thank you and bye.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.